I never thought I'd fall in love again after what happened 8 years ago. It was a rainy Sunday when everything fell apart. I remember standing in the kitchen with the phone still warm in my hand, my heart racing as the truth settled in. The man I thought I loved, the one who held me close and whispered a future into my ear, had been lying all along. There was another woman, another life, one I wasn't part of. He told me I was young, that I'd get over it, that he never meant for things to go so far. But they had. And when he walked out, he took more than promises. He took my trust, my belief in people, my ability to believe in anything at all. Back then, I was 23, alone in the world. No family to call, no real friends to confide in. Just a cramped studio apartment in a noisy corner of the city, a dead-end waitressing job, and a heart stitched together with trembling hands. Most days, I existed on autopilot. Coffee, shift, sleep, repeat. Nights were the worst. That's when the memories crept in. 8 years ago, I fell for a man who broke me in a way that changed how I saw everything. He was the first person I trusted after losing my father. He was charming, attentive, older, and he made promises. Big ones, the kind you write in ink, not pencil. But he lied. Not just to me, to everyone. I found out he had another life, another family. I confronted him and he told me I was a phase, a mistake, like I'd been an accidental bruise on a clean sheet. After that, I stopped letting people in. I stopped hoping. I stopped believing that love was anything more than a setup for pain. I kept a box of letters under my kitchen sink, unopened, yellowed at the corners, some still with a trace of perfume, others crumpled from the pressure of time. I never threw them away, I just couldn't bring myself to. Like keeping a scar you never show anyone but still run your fingers across when you're alone. Then came Evan. Soon, we were talking, not just about the weather or his order. Real things. Music, books, the kind of silence we both hated. Trauma, hope, regret. He told me he used to play piano but hadn't touched one in years. I told him about the poetry I used to write but never showed anyone. He asked about the scar on my shoulder. I lied and said it was from a bike accident. The truth felt too raw then. We began exchanging little things. A book left on the counter, a song sent late at night, a cup of tea, just the way I liked it, waiting for me after a long shift. He walked me home, even in the rain. Once, I forgot my umbrella, and he took off his jacket, holding it over my head the whole way. He didn't try to kiss me, not then. He just smiled and said, "You deserve someone who remembers the small things." I remember the first night I let him stay. We didn't sleep together, not in the way people expect. We just lay there, side by side, breathing into the quiet. I had never felt more terrified and more safe in my life. 3 months in, he told me he loved me. We moved in together after 6 months. It felt sudden to some, but to us, it was like gravity. Like we'd already spent lifetimes apart and didn't want to waste another day. Our apartment was tiny, but it had a skylight over the bed, and on nights when the city went quiet, we'd lie there and name constellations we couldn't see. We kept a notebook of stupid dreams, a bakery that only sold pastries shaped like animals, a dog named Saturn, a road trip to Iceland with no itinerary. Life with him was warm, uncomplicated. I started to let myself imagine a future, something I hadn't dared to do in years. A kitchen painted sage green, a record player humming on lazy Sundays, laughter echoing in hallways that felt like home. But even in those moments, a tiny part of me stayed on guard, like a soldier after the war, still flinching at fireworks. Then something shifted. I opened the box of letters. I stood in the hallway for what felt like forever, staring at the cupboard beneath the sink. My hands shook, not from cold, but from knowing what was inside. That box had lived there like a sleeping ghost. and I had made a religion out of ignoring it. But something about Julia's email, those 7 cryptic words, "Do you think she knows?" cracked something open. A dam I had built years ago began to leak. I didn't decide to open the box so much as surrender to it. I opened the box of letters. I sat on the kitchen floor for what felt like hours, just holding that box. My fingers trembled as I undid the frayed ribbon I had tied around it years ago. The smell that hit me was equal parts dust and perfume. The first letter I picked up had a grease stain on the corner. I remembered that stain. It happened the day I spilled takeout, trying to convince myself I wasn't going to cry that night. One by one, I unfolded them. Letters from my mother that had been sent sporadically after she disappeared. Most made no sense. Rambling words, strange places, mentions of people I never met. One spoke of a man with green eyes who watched her sleep from across the hallway. Another detailed a night spent under a bridge in a city she never named, listening to the river whisper secrets. Some were confessional, like one that admitted to breaking promises no one heard me make. But there were tender letters, too. One included a dried flower. Pressed and fragile, taped to the page with care. She'd written, "I found this today and thought of the field we used to walk past every Sunday. Do you remember? You always tried to pick the yellow ones." Another had a sketch of a star map. "If you ever feel lost," she wrote, "look for this cluster. That's where I am, always." Each letter was a puzzle piece from a box that no longer had its lid, scattered memories and phantom love. But they always ended the same way. "I love you. I'm watching from far away. I'm sorry." Then came the one from Evan's hometown. She didn't elaborate, but the weight in her silence said everything. I wondered, not for the first time, if she had played a larger role in my mother's disappearance, or if she'd simply carried guilt for something she couldn't control. Did she see me as a threat, a reminder, or maybe she saw my mother every time she looked at me, and it made her feel something she hadn't faced in years. I wanted to ask her all of that. I wanted to scream it, but the words never came. But I saw it, the look in her eyes, that flicker of guilt buried under decades of composure. She had more to say. I could feel it. I could have stayed, pushed, demanded answers. But I didn't. Part of me was terrified that knowing more would unravel the fragile thread I was clinging to, that if I pulled too hard, the whole story would spill out, and I wouldn't be able to hold it. So I turned around and walked into the night. Weeks passed, then a month, then 2. And in that stretch of slow unraveling, we drifted. We started moving around each other like shadows instead of partners. Evan would come home later or not say where he'd been. I stopped asking. We no longer sat at the table to eat, just plates left on the counter, food cooling untouched. Once, I found him standing in the hallway with his keys in hand, staring at the door like he wasn't sure if he should come in or go back out. I turned away before he saw me watching. Some nights he would reach for me in his sleep, murmuring my name with the kind of desperation that made my chest ache. But I was already wide awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how a love that felt like home could start to feel like exile. The silence between us wasn't loud. It was weighty, familiar, like something I'd known before and hoped never to know again. In that time, Evan and I became strangers in our own apartment. We no longer talked about the future. Our conversations turned into questions about groceries, bills, logistics. He started sleeping on the couch, saying it was because of my nightmares. I didn't argue. I couldn't. My dreams were filled with my mother's voice and Julia's face, melting together in a loop I couldn't escape. Sometimes I watched Evan sleep, trying to memorize the lines on his face, wondering if I'd made a mistake by coming into his life at all. Wondering if love was ever really ours, or if we were just trying to rewrite a past that didn't belong to us. One morning, Evan handed me a letter. No return address, just my name. I folded it and placed it next to the box under the sink, where all my unsaid truths live. That letter wasn't just from her, it was to me. A quiet acknowledgement that the past, no matter how fractured, had shaped me, but didn't have to define me. I realized then that I wasn't just a daughter abandoned, or a woman caught between two broken families. I was someone who had survived both silence and story. And now, maybe, I could begin writing my own. And that night, for the first time in years, I dreamed of peace, not answers. But in that peace, I saw her, my mother, sitting in a field, smiling, calm. And next to her, Julia, younger, softer. And in that strange, impossible dream, they were laughing. Like none of the past ever happened. Like forgiveness was real. I woke up with tears on my cheeks. And I knew then, this wasn't just about them. It was about me. About choosing what parts of the past I carry and what I let go. Maybe I'll tell Evan, maybe I won't, but I'll keep the letter, and I'll keep the love. Because both, in their own broken way, are mine to hold.